student, how are you? In this lesson, you will learn how to determine the velocity and acceleration of an object using a ticker timer. This is a ticker timer. Here are the parts in the ticker timer: a power input for the electric supply, a magnet for attracting the vibrating bar, carbon paper for making the dots visible, a vibrating bar which function to make a dots, and a ticker tab which are placed under the vibrating bar and attached to the trolley during the experiment. Ticker timer is an apparatus that used in laboratory which set up to make 50 dots in 1 second. This means the time taken between the two dots is 0.02 seconds. To get the time taken between these two dots, you need to divide 1 with 50. Then you will get 0.02 seconds. Which means every 0.02 second, the ticker timer will make 1 dot. Regardless the distance between two consecutive dots, the time taken between the two dots is fixed, which is 0.02 second. If the trolley is in stationary, means static, does not move, the dots which made by the ticker timer will be appear in a static or a same position. Jika trolley tidak bergerak, titik yang dibuat oleh jangka masa detik akan berada pada tempat yang sama sahaja. If the trolley is moving, the dots that made by the ticker timer will be appear in different position. Jika trolley bergerak, titik yang dibuat oleh jangka masa detik akan berada pada tempat yang berlainan. The longer the distance between two dots or the two ticks, the higher the velocity of the object. The shorter the distance between the two dots or the two ticks, the lower the velocity of the object. This is because the time taken between the two dots are the same. It is equals to 0.02 second. But the distance traveled by this object is different. Here the distance is more longer compared to this distance. This indicates this object traveled more faster at the final motion compared to the early motion. The type of a linear motion can be determined from the distance between dots on the ticker tab. If the distance of the dots is constant, means the object movement is in a uniform velocity. Jika jarak di antara titik-titik yang dibuat oleh jangka masa detik adalah sama, berarti objek itu sedang mengalami hal laju seragam. If the distance between the two consecutive dots is increasing uniformly, means the object is moving in uniform acceleration because its velocity increasing uniformly. This is the direction of the motion of the object. So here is the initial velocity of the object and here is the final velocity of the object. Jarak di antara dua titik ini sedang meningkat. So this object is in the acceleration motion. When you read and analyze the ticker tab, please be alert with the direction of the motion. Sometimes it could be in different direction. Now let's look at this ticker tab. This ticker tab has a direction towards right. Therefore, this will be the initial velocity and here will be the final velocity. By looking at the distance between the dots, you can conclude the initial velocity is more higher compared to the final velocity. Therefore, this object moving in uniform deceleration. At first, it's moving fast and then eventually slowing down. The velocity is decreasing. When the distance between two consecutive dots is not constant, as in this diagram, means the object motion is in non-uniform velocity. This experiment activity is to determine the velocity and acceleration of an object using a ticker timer. The apparatus and material need a wooden block, cellophane tape, carbon paper, a ticker tape power supply, a ticker timer, trolley, a wooden plank or runway, connecting wire, and also a meter rule. Let's look at the procedure of this experiment. Set up the apparatus as shown in the above diagram. Attach the end of a ticker tape to the trolley and put the ticker tape under the carbon paper which is placed in the ticker timer. Then turn on the switch of the ticker timer and push the trolley down the runway with the increasing velocity. At the end of experiment, as a result, a ticker tape with the dots is obtained. Di akhir eksperimen, sebagai keputusan, kita akan dapat pita detik yang ada titik-titik yang boleh dianalisis. So here how you can identify the movement of the trolley based on the pattern and the distance of the dot made by the ticker timer. Select and mark starting dot from the clear end of the ticker tape closest to the trolley. Cut the ticker tape into 5 strips with 5 ticks each and paste them side by side on the craft paper. This strip is the first 5 ticks followed by another 5 ticks, then another 5 ticks until the final 5 ticks. The first strip is considered the initial velocity and the final strip, which is the 5th strip, will be considered as the final velocity. To calculate the velocity or the speed of the trolley, we must know the displacement and the time taken. Displacement here is the length of the 5 ticks and the time taken here will be the time taken for 5 ticks. Remember in early lesson, ticker timer makes 1 dot or 1 tick in just 0.02 second. Therefore, 5 ticks will equal to 5 times with 0.02 second. This makes the time taken for 5 ticks is equals to 0.1 second regardless the difference in distance or in the displacement. To measure the length of 5 ticks, we need to use a ruler. Let's say the length obtained after measure each of the strip is 4 cm for first strip, 5 cm for second strip, 6 cm for third strip, 7 cm for the fourth strip, and the final displacement is 8 cm. Let's try to calculate the velocity of the first strip. The displacement obtained in the first strip is 4 cm and the time taken for these 5 ticks is equals to 0.1 second. When we substitute this value into this formula, we will get the velocity of the first strip equals to 40 cm per second. Let's continue calculate the velocity for the second strip, third, fourth, and the fifth strip. From the graph, the length of the second strip is 5 cm and the time taken is 0.1 second. Therefore, when we substitute the value into the formula, we will get the velocity for the second strip is equals 50 cm per second. We use the unit of centimeter here because we using a ruler to measure the length of the 5 ticks. But remember, the SI unit for velocity is meter per second. Let's try again to calculate the velocity for the third strip. From the graph, the displacement of the third strip is 6 cm and the time taken for 5 ticks is equals to 0.1 second. When we substitute the value 6 cm divided by the time taken 0.1 second, we will get the velocity for the third strip is 60 cm per second. The same calculation method is applied in first strip and the fifth strip. From this result, we can determine the motion of the trolley. The initial velocity is smaller compared to the final velocity. This means this trolley moves from slower to the faster movement. This motion shows this trolley is experiencing the acceleration because of the increasing velocity. Now let's learn how to calculate the acceleration of the trolley by using this formula. To find acceleration, we need to minus the final velocity with the initial velocity. The time taken here is referring to the time taken for the trolley from the initial velocity to reach to the final velocity. Time taken for each strip is 0.1 second. This trolley traveled 4 strips before reaching to the 5th strip. Therefore, the time taken is 0.1 second times with 4 equals to 0.4 second. This is the time taken for the changes of velocity from initial to the final velocity. When we substitute all the value into this formula, we will get 80 cm per second, that is the final velocity, minus with the 40 cm per second, which is the initial velocity, and the time taken here is 0.4 second. We will divide this value and we will get the acceleration is equals to 100 cm per second. To calculate the average speed of the trolley in 0.5 second, we can use this formula. Average speed equals to total distance over the time taken. The total distance here is referring to the total length of 5 ticks from the first strip until to the 5th strip. And the time taken here is referring to the total time taken from the first strip until to the 5th strip. Therefore, the total distance traveled altogether is 4 cm plus 5 cm, 6 cm, 7 cm plus with 8 cm, and overall time taken is equals to 0.5 cm. We plus all the time taken from the first strip until to the 5th strip. Then we solve this problem. We get the average speed is equals to 60 cm per second. From the graph, we can conclude as the time increase, the length of the ticker tape is also increased. The velocity of the trolley also increases as the trolley is accelerates. An object performs acceleration if the velocity of the object is increases. So that's the end of our lesson. Continue doing your practice and see you again in next class.